It says you are live on YouTube.
Okay, then welcome everyone, especially to the people who are watching on YouTube, and because we're live streamed, so welcome to the public and all our staff and our council. It's good to see everybody at least on the screen, but it sure will be nice to get back to see everybody in real. And then we'll be able to see how long our beards are. Anyways, so welcome everybody to open the meeting. And tonight we're going to have a moment of silence. And I'm going to say a few words, if you don't mind, please. And then we'll have a moment of silence afterwards. And tonight, I'd just like to, our moment of silence is to honor the memory of the 215 Indigenous children whose lives were tragically lost at a former Kamloops residential school. Our thoughts and our prayers are with the children who never made it home, the survivors and their families. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We're going to now adopt our agenda, but the first motion that we have was moved by Klaus Vandermeer and seconded by Ian Straight, that council agreed to move items F and H from information item to action item for discussion. All in favor? I should have asked if there were any others from anyone at the last minute, but I don't see any hands. So all in favor, that was carried. Thank you. And now, because we've amended the agenda, the next, I'm hoping this is all right, Joanna, you can let me know if it's not, but I'm going to just change the agenda that we have in front of us, but it was moved by Karen Jennings and seconded by Jeff Carroll, that the regular meeting of council amended agenda dated June the 1st, 2021 be approved as circulated. Is that okay to do it like that, Joanna?
Yeah.
Okay, so all in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Also remind everyone on council that if you do have any declaration of interest, you can declare it now or anytime during the meeting. My next motion is moved by Ian Straight and seconded by Klaus Vandermeer, that the minutes of the regular meeting of council, May 18th, 2021, special meeting of council, May 18th, 2021, and special meeting of council, May 19th, 2021, be approved as circulated. All in favor? Okay, all those minutes are carried, and I will open it up to council if you have any questions on any of them. In other words, this is business arising from the minutes. And I believe that I saw Jeff first and then Klaus.
Yeah, thanks for your Dobson. When Summer was here, we were talking about an RVCA sort of little another conversation.
Sorry, maybe you can just mention which meeting it is first, so that if anybody wants to go to it.
Yeah, so the regular meeting of the 18th.
Okay.
And it's about the RVCA, because during the RVCA meeting, we talked about having a meeting that we were tentatively looking at dates. Do we know if we have those dates or if we're still sort of tentatively working with those?
We're tentatively working with those. I think Summer indicated August, so I can follow up with her now that we have some additional information, and I'll get a date set up for you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. And Klaus.
Yeah, just thank you, Reeve. Just a clarification on the section B in the minutes, be something, whatever, sorry.
Which
Where the
meeting?
hospital fund for the
meeting?
donation.
Sorry, which meeting, just so the public knows?
The 18th.
Oh, yes, okay.
The 18th, just a clarification on regards to the hospital donations. We've approved all the donations and so forth, and council directed staff to take 17,500 out of reserves, blah, 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 and so forth. And hospital funds could not be requested up to 2023. Are we still waiting for information from the hospital?
If I may, we received some information from the hospital. I'm just digging a little deeper for a little additional information from the foundation, as I think that's sort of what the required information was. So I will hopefully be getting back to you guys in a little while.
Okay.
Just to follow up on that clause also, and Joanna, I did have a discussion with Dr. Guppy this week, and to let him know what some of the questions are that we're still waiting on. So as Joanna said, he said on his way. So it's still in progress.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question, any other business arising from any of those minutes? Okay, if not, then we're going to move on to the delegations. We have none. And the first report of the municipal officer, and the first one, I see Stephen is with us, but not yet on the screen. So Stephen, the first report is yours, and that's on the line painting award. Hi, Stephen.
Hey, thanks, Reeve. Yeah, so the report I'm bringing forward is on the hard service line painting. And the recommendation is that council direct staff to award a 1-year hard service line painting extension to provincial road markings. May 18th, staff brought forward a report to the committee of the whole, and as per resolution 83 2021, it was to bring forward the report to council for approval. A 5% increase was brought forward by the company. It still puts us at par with other local municipalities. Through the report, it's noted that it lasts longer on asphalt surfaces versus the other services. And then we go in, I met with provincial, had a phone conversation with them, just wondering about timelines due to them stating about shortages in line painting. So they wouldn't be able to do line painting until later on in the summer, which works well for us due to us doing micro surfacing. But as soon as they hear on if an award is granted, they will commence the hand painting, which will be stop bars, tails, and crossings. And then in the financial implications, we budgeted $14,000 for this, 5% increase after including non-recoverable HST. The total would be $13,560, and then we will be splitting the Carroll Road and McLaughlin with our adjoining municipalities. And that is line painting.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. Any questions? If not, I have a motion here. It was moved by Jeff Carroll and seconded by Karen Jennings that the council receive the following report, the line painting award, and that the following be approved, that council directs staff to award a 1-year hard surface line painting extension to provincial road marking for 2021. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you for that one, Stephen. Moving on, the next one is going to be yours, Joanna, and it's the approval of the J2PG contract for the development charges study. So I'll hand this over to you, Joanna. Thanks. Oh, I think you're.
I got it. Sorry.
It's okay.
At the last committee of the whole meeting, I brought forward 2 different tender or request for proposal that came in to do our development charges study, and they were varied in cost. Both were really good sort of reports. At the time, council had asked me to bring forward for approval the JP2G report costing $17,690, including HST, which is under budget. They have experience in the area of development charges, and township staff and council are familiar with their work. So the recommendation is that council direct staff to draft an agreement for signature by the Reeve clerk and representative of JP2G in order to begin the development charges study.
Okay, thanks, Joanna. Any questions from council? I have a motion here. It was moved by Karen Jennings and seconded by Ian Straight, that council receive the approval of JP2G as contract for development charges study, and that the following be approved: that council direct staff to draft an agreement for signature by the Reeve clerk and representative of JP2G in order to being the development charges study. Seeing no questions, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And the next one, we're going to go to the reports of the committees. And the first motion that I have here was moved by Ian Straight, seconded by Claus Vandermeer, that the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of May 18th, 2021 be approved as circulated. All in favor? And those are carried. Any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none. The next is the resolution from the Recreation Committee. So that's, I'm going to read that first, and then I'll open up if we have any questions. Moved by Claus Vandermeer and seconded by Jeff Carroll, that council receive the following resolution. That's the Montague Recreation Culture Committee on the flagpole at Rosedale Hall, and that the following be approved: that council directs staff to erect a supplied flagpole at Rosedale Hall in time to raise a flag for Canada Day 2021. Any comments and questions? Yes. Okay, Jeff.
I'll give a little bit of a basis, because if anybody's just not 100% sure with everything, but the flagpoles is kind of the idea was to have it up for Canada Day, so we could have at Rosedale Hall. It was nicely donated by Byron Morris. So Val Morris is on our rec committee. Her husband did that and she was able to get the flag from Scott Reed's office too as well. So that was kind of nice, the donation of that. So really it was an idea from the rec committee to see if we can sort of request to see if we can get that put in. So hopefully we can do that. I know Stephen's been working a little bit on it, so I don't know if he has any feedback for us at all as far as that goes, or if Joanna will, but that's kind of the scoop with the flagpole.
Thank you, Jeff. I'll go to either Jeff or Joanna if you have anything. Jeff? Sorry, Steve?
Yeah, so Public Works will be able to do this. At this point, it will be the final week of June, as the next 4 weeks, Public Works is extremely busy with granular works. I went down on Monday, did a couple test holes. Where the old flagpole was is only about a foot to bedrock. If they move it down by the Rosedale sign, I got about 2 feet plus a little bit to till bedrock, so that'd probably be the preferred location. And then I just would obviously have the rec committee provide detailed kind of installation specifications as per the manufacturer, just to liability purposes, make sure we're doing it right and how it's supposed to be done. Other than that, Public Works should be able to get this done before July 1st.
Thank you, Steve, for that. Do you think that 2 feet where you're talking about will be enough because I'm not sure what kind of a flagpole it is, but some are heavier than others, but where you're planning on putting it for the 2 feet, is that enough?
The one drawing I did see on a flagpole was, I think it required 18 inches with a little bit granular on the base, and then there would be a concrete around the base of the pole. That'd be sufficient, but we'll have to double check with the manufacturer's installation guide just to ensure.
Okay, thank you. I guess, yes, Claus? Yes, Claus?
Mute.
You're
Mute.
muted, Claus? Claus, you're muted? Huh. We have Claus?
All right.
There we
Can you
go.
hear me
Sorry.
now?
No, yeah, we did not hear anything you said. You're muted, muted. We heard
No, it
nothing.
doesn't. Am I good
Can
now?
you start? Can you start at the beginning, please? We have not heard
Okay.
anything that you said.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Sorry,
If you-
Steve. Just a
if you could
technical
start-
question, Steve. Have you heard of a thing called a Bigfoot for a base?
I believe there was one in the package. I'll have to double check. I really have minimal information on this at this moment, so I can double check on that though. But it'd be
Yeah, they're meant-
underneath the concrete to prevent it from coming out, if I'm not misunderstood.
Well, it looks like an upside down bell. It's made of plastic and it's good and wide at the bottom. So it's meant for shallow areas. So it gives you a much larger concrete base. That's all. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I guess I just have one comment, and it's probably something that our great staff has already thought about, but whoever looks after the flag at our office will also have to look after, I'm sure, that flag, because our flag is lowered periodically. So we'll have to make sure that the other flag is done also at the same time or near the same time. Just a comment. And so I guess thanks goes out to the Recreation Committee for sure for coming up with this great little project. And thanks very much to Byron and the two Morris, the couple, because to Val, and I know that you're a valued person on the Rec Committee, but thanks for the generosity. So, and I know that the idea is, the whole flag idea is to try to do something to celebrate Canada Day virtually and at a distance. So certainly that's what this project is all about. So thanks to everybody on the Rec Committee for coming up with this. Okay, if there's nothing else, then I did read the motion.
Bill?
Yes,
Jeff's
yes.
hand?
Sorry, Jeff. Yes, Jeff.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment real quick because I kind of stumbled through that first part there, like, because 100% we want to get it up for Canada Day, because it'd be also nice to do for the Canada Day sort of celebration that we're getting the flags out and everything else, which this starts this Saturday with the giveaway. But also if we did some sort of thing, maybe when we get close to that date too, as well as sort of a Canada Day opening or celebration that we might be able to do as a council group, or at least with Reed Dobson, and it was thrown out there to invite maybe even Scott Reed out too as well for that, just to try to get a little bit of hype behind it too as well. So as we get closer to that, maybe we can reach out to Scott Reed, and maybe in our next meeting we can kind of discuss us doing something close to or on Canada Day, or sort of celebrating that too as well. So
Thanks, Jeff. Okay, then I'm going to call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on, we have no petitions and no bylaws, motions, notice of motions. And under the correspondence, we moved a information item already to action. And we do have a motion to pertaining to that one. At least, yes, to the first one, A. And it was moved by Jeff Carroll and seconded by Karen Jennings that council received this report for council assigned tasks as information. Any questions? All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Moving on to the information items. And that there were two had been moved forward. And I believe, Jeff, you moved at least F, did you? Yes. Jeff, you moved F and H. So if you can, I'll hand it over to you, Jeff, please.
So super quick, I don't know if Reed Dobson might have a comment too as well, because it kind of comes from the county, but I know all the bad press sometimes that goes out there about the roadside spraying and everything else. But I do want to highlight sort of the positive sake of, I guess, where they're trying to go with the sort of the pollinator habitat and trying to replant things around the roadways and everything else. So I mean, I don't really have a lot to discuss about it, but more just the highlighting fact that, when we talk about the sort of the side of the spraying side, but this is where I know that they're trying to go on a positive side. So sort of just to kind of reach out to those that only think that the roadside spraying is the way that things are being done, but this is how they're trying to bring nature back into it, but the more appropriate nature, which I think this is kind of a cool step to take than just the spraying. Anyways, I don't really have a lot to say about that, but just more about that. I don't know, Reed Dawson has something too, but anyways, thank you, Reed.
So yes, Jeff, thanks very, very much for that. And I'm really happy to hear us talk this way, because I know that in a previous meeting, we were passing a resolution about the spraying in Montague. And I talked a bit, and it was not the first time. I think I brought it up before in meetings, and that is, I was talking about what we call at the county, the integrated management plan. And really, that plan that we have for noxious weeds, there are 6 noxious weeds. One of them is the wild parsnip, which we're trying to eradicate, but the Phragmites and others. And what the plan means by using the term integrated is we've integrated about 5 or 6 different things. And one of them was the boom spraying, one of them the spot spraying, one of them the planting of the other seeds that will knock down the noxious weeds. One of them was mowing and also pulling. So it's an integrated plan. And I really look forward someday to when we in Montague can at least look at that plan and maybe start, because the best part, I can tell you right now, I think they reported to us that this year was the first year in 5 or 6 years. We started this plan 5 or 6 years ago, and now we're not doing any boom spraying, we're spot spraying. And I'm telling you, like, Claus will attest to this. We sat on county council and we had hundreds and hundreds of people that were against the spraying. So we started that integrated plan, and believe me, like now, our county, Lanark, where we all live, it is a real leader. So it's so exciting to hear you bring this up, and I'm glad you moved it forward just for a slight discussion, because we should maybe bring this back. I think that was how we kind of left it, maybe that it might come back again when we're talking budget time and so on. But it's a good thing. So thanks, Jeff, for that. And Claus, I know that you had also your hand up.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we've had the county talk to us before about this. So maybe at the beginning, before our budget deliberation in September, October, have the county come back again and give us a cost analysis on the planting projects that they've done and the full report of success. So we can have a good, clear understanding how well it's done and what the cost might be in regards to that. So sometime in September, October, before we get into budget deliberations in the beginning of next year.
So if you remember, Michelle did her presentation with us.
Yeah.
And Michelle is the person that has all of that information. And I'm pretty sure that we could easily, maybe we could just leave this now and maybe give staff direction to approach Michelle, who did the presentation with us, and see if she can send us over some information first.
Yeah,
if that's
that'd be great.
Okay with you, Claus?
Yep, that'd be good. Thank you.
Because there is a certain cost, but this is not all about dollars and cents. This is about doing the right thing as far as I'm concerned. So anybody else have any comments on this? Okay, then that is finished. And the next one was the H. Jeff, and I believe that you brought it up also, so thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, so once again, just real quick, just because it's about the connectivity and EORN, and just more of their, kind of letting people know more and more about what they're doing. I think the biggest thing is like this is the biggest pressure thing that we need to do as a municipality. I think, especially when we have two. Well, we know that provincials are next year, and there's a very high chance of the federal election coming up. And like, I mean, I think the Wardens Caucus, they're doing what they can to put that pressure on. But I think when that's coming up, I want to make sure that our residents know that the number one question you should be asking those candidates: what are you doing to help with the internet connectivity in our area? And I think we need to put whoever's, and I mean, Scott Reed is going to be our biggest one coming up in that election, and we'll see where the province goes. But I mean, we want to make sure we get a good, strong commitment, because they're not getting the strong commitment, even though the money's put out there, to say that that's going to be spent, and it's going to be spent, like, I'm going to say, like, right now, to get that done with. So I don't know if we can post that on our Facebook page, kind of once again to reiterate to the people out there that, I mean, obviously us as a council really want to do it, but it's bigger than us as far as the council goes. We need to rely on the Eastern Wardens and the mayors to really be pushing that for the rural areas, but to make sure that people know that we're behind that. And I'm all for as we get closer to those elections, to be trying to get pressure or pushing or what we can do to get commitment from those candidates that they're going to actually spend the money so we can fix this huge issue, which is really our growth strategy. Once we have good, reliable internet in our area, it's a huge positive for our growth strategy, and it's going to make it more financially feasible for our current residents as we expand. So anyways, if we're favored to at least sort of post that out there so people can see that, it's really the only thing we can really do, I think, right now, because we've already given our letters of support to it. This is just sort of confirming that support, just letting people know that that's what we're pushing for.
Thanks, Jeff. Anyone else? I will say that again, it's probably the top priority of most municipal governments right now, and I know of the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. And I also know that many of us get very frustrated when things move slow. But I can tell you that I was warden twice, 2013 and 17. But this was already on the table the year before I was warden in 13. So we're talking 10 years ago, they started talking about the project that we're working towards now. So it takes a long time to get that commitment from the government, both federal and provincial, which is what we've done. And now, as you said, Jeff, it's a matter of just keeping that pressure on to make sure that that money is spent and it's spent sooner than later. Because you're right, connectivity, whether it be the broadband or the cell, there's a huge cell gap that is being corrected, but those two things, the connectivity is so important. So again, I'm glad that we're interested as a council, Matthew, and thank you for bringing it up. Okay, then we're going to move on. We have no unfinished business.
Bill, Jeff has his hand up.
Just one quick question, though.
Jeff. Yes,
just from Jeff. my point, I'm kind of hoping we can maybe just kind of put this out on our social media, just so it's out there in the forefront and not buried sort of in our minutes and the information minutes, just so we can put this. Just to put that up there, just so people are aware of because I know it's a big question for a lot of our public too as well, of just a little bit of what's kind of going on, and it does give them information. If we're all in favor of that and we can just get that posted, that'd be great.
So I think that would be staff direction, if that's okay, Joanna. But I guess to follow up on that, Jeff and everybody, council, I'm wondering, Joanna, would it? I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but would it not be a good thing to post the EORN message that was sent to us? That was a public thing from EORN.
I mean, yeah, I can post whatever is directed by council. So if there's a consensus, or either a consensus or a resolution, we can.
Well,
move forward with-
we had that, we did have that presentation from Jim Pine and his group. And it pretty well updated all of us on where we were at. And as you touched on, Jeff, within days, I know I for one, but I'm sure that almost 100% of the reeves and mayors across all of Eastern Ontario, and there's an enormous number, 70, 80, 90, but we all signed a letter that went in within 1 or 2 days of that presentation. I think some of us listened to it. I think you were listening to it, Jeff. But anyways, that was all happening. But I think it's very good to get it into the public, in front of the public eyes too. It answers a lot of questions. So I believe that, Jeff, I'll ask you because you brought it up, but if it's okay, if we just give staff direction to post an update regarding the whole connectivity issue, whether it be that from Yorn or anything else, is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, this letter that was released, because that's their media release for the latest update. So I think that 2-pager that's in our information item gives a pretty good breakdown of,
Yeah.
And that's their media release. So I mean, like, I agree with you, like the presentation, everything else, but at least if it directs people that are even unaware of that to the ERN website, just to have a little bit of an understanding. But I think that press release is perfect, just as far as a little bit of awareness out there.
Okay, I'll just go around and then see if we have consensus here. Karen first,
Yes.
and Ian,
Yeah.
and Claus.
Yes.
Okay, and so myself and Jeff. So then, if that's okay, Joanna, any questions there for us?
No, I don't think so. I just have that council direct staff to present the media release from EORN on Township Facebook. And
Perfect.
website? Wait,
And the
website and Facebook?
Yeah.
Perfect. Great. Thanks. That's great. Yeah, it was. It seems like it wasn't very long ago when we talked about putting more and more and more on our site, and I think that these are good things. So thank you for bringing that up, Jeff. And we're going to then move on, and we're going to be going in camera. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be recessing. But first, Joanna and Christy, are there any questions from the public?
I have no questions here on my end.
I have no questions here. Just to
Okay.
confirm, we're going to committee of the whole, not in camera.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be convening first, so,
Yeah.
I mean, recessing and convening, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion here. It was moved by Karen Jennings and seconded by Ian Straight that council recess at 6:33 PM. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, so we're going to, oh, sorry. We're going to be going to the committee of the whole now then, right?
Okay.
Does anyone need a minute to change over?
Nope.
No, everybody's fine. Okay, so then we're going to go to the committee of the whole, June the 1st. And this one is also live streamed, so welcome to everybody. And we're going to open the meeting. And I have a first motion, which was moved by Karen Jennings and seconded by Jeff Carroll, that the committee of the whole agenda dated June the 1st, 2020 be approved. Yes, Joanna?
Sorry, I just, I wanted to bump the Sheridan Manor planning report to the first thing on the agenda item. So if we could.
Oh, yes, we're going to be moving I up to the first.
Please.
Okay, thank you then. So that this will read that the committee of the whole amended agenda dated June the 1st, 2021 be approved. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. I will also remind all of council that if you have any disclosure of interest, you can declare it now or any time during the meeting. Claus, you have something?
Yeah, declare a conflict of interest on item 3H.
3H. Okay. Thank you. Okay, then we're going to, anything else? Nothing else, then we're going to move on. So we're going to go to the first report of the municipal officer. And we're going to start off our first one it's your report, Joanna. And it is on the Sheridan Manor site plan at 476 Queen Street. And I see that we have a gentleman who is our guest tonight. Maybe Joanna, if you can introduce him.
Yeah, absolutely. So council, this is Celestin, and he's the owner of the property and is currently running the Sheridan Manor. So he's here to answer any questions you may have after I make the presentation.
Thanks, Joanna, and welcome. Okay, thanks, Joanna.
Okay, I'm just going to share my screen here. So there we go. I'm just going to set it to slideshow if I can. So this application is for Sheridan Manor at 476 Queen Street, and it's for a site plan control application. The location of this property is at the corner of Queen Street and Bayview Crescent on the boundary of Smiths Falls and Montague across from the Galco Center. So I am taking on this planning file as the planner on file because our Smiths Falls planner is unable to present this given the fact that he's working for both municipalities. So this is just a map of the location, so you get a sense for where it is and the size of the property, the fact that it's along the Rideau River. So on this page is elevation drawing showing what the planned building looks like. The proposal is for a 508.9 square meter, two-story addition, sorry about the spelling, to the existing Sheridan Manor. Currently there are 18 bedrooms and they are adding 9 bedrooms for a total of 27 bedrooms. What's happening with this is because of COVID and other sort of health reasons, Sheridan Manor is attempting to, have less people in one room. So really, they're just increasing the total number of residents from 30 to 33. So instead of having a larger number of people in one bedroom, they're just splitting them up along less people per bedroom. And they are going to continue using the existing well and septic system. And there's access to the site from both Queen Street and Bayview Crescent. And they have all the required parking. This is the proposed site plan, so you can just see where the existing two-story building is. There's already another existing one-story wing off, and the proposal is to add another, as I said, two-story building. There had previously been a building in this location, so this is just sort of re-adding what had previously been there. Again, they're using the existing septic system, which you can see closer to, I guess, the left-hand side of your screen, which is the water side, and then Bayview Crescent is to the top, and Highway 43 or Queen Street is to the right side of the plan. So this outlines very briefly sort of the size of the buildings, how they sit on the site, parking spaces, and the like, and we'll go through that in a little bit more detail later on. Rather than bore you with the large report that you probably read, just easier for the public generally. Just to make note, without going through every single individual part of the provincial and municipal documents, the project proposed is consistent with and conforms to the provincial policy statement, the Lanark Sustainable Communities Official Plan, and the Township of Montague Official Plan. So that shortens those, I don't know, 8 pages down to 1. So the next screen just provides what you've already seen on the site plan. It looks at our zoning provisions for the township: lot area, lot frontage, setbacks, height, lot coverage, parking spaces. And it shows what the required setbacks are in our zoning bylaw. And then it shows what the applicant has proposed. So you can see from this screen, without me reviewing each and every section, that they do meet or exceed all of the zone provisions. In any of the cases where they do not, where they are non-compliant, the setbacks are due to existing circumstances. So in other words, the building is already there. It's not going to move or change. So it's just recognized formally as being where it is. So in summary, the proposal meets all the required planning. It has all the required planning documents. It's consistent with the policy statement. It conforms to the official plans. It meets the requirements of the zoning bylaw. There aren't any expected adverse impacts to the environment, private property, or public health and safety. I will put an asterisk beside there based on some comments that we've seen, but generally there's not an expected adverse impact. So I'll get into that in just a minute. We circulated this to public agencies and staff. We received no comments from the public, none from council members. Lanark County did provide a letter of support for the project. They also support this Sheridan Manor financially. Generally, the Lanark County Public Works had no comments. The health unit had no objections. They were preparing to issue a sewage system completion certificate for the existing sewage system. Montague Public Works had no concerns with the grading or drainage. Parks Canada, who takes care of these properties along the Rideau River, they look at it from the perspective of the National Historic Site and UNESCO World Heritage Site, had no objections or conditions. Enbridge, and actually I received a comment from Hydro today, neither had any concerns. I know that our chief building official has been working directly with the applicant to ensure that once the site plan is signed, the building permit should pretty well be ready to be issued, so that he doesn't have any major concerns, or they are being worked through as we go along in this process. The planner for Smiths Falls noted several sort of things that he just wanted to mention or have reviewed, and one was the hydrogeological and terrain analysis. He wanted that reviewed by an independent third party to assure, both parties, that the water quality and quantity was acceptable. And so that review has been completed by the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority, and they have asked for some additional information with respect to water quality. And the applicant is working through the process right now on that section. There's also some questions that were raised by Smiths Falls with respect to road allowance, setbacks for entrances, whether or not there should be 1 or 2 entrances off of Queen Street. And those, again, both our public works manager and planner and public works at Smiths Falls and the applicant will be working through those. Those are sort of things that can happen through minor changes to the plan that you've seen, but they shouldn't be, I don't think, anything too major. Another note by the Smiths Falls planner is they recommended some additional ornamental landscaping to be added where possible in the front yard. The planner noted generally, because it's on the Rideau Canal, landscaping should be considered. I do note landscaping was not mentioned in the Parks Canada comments, and due to the nature of this, of Sheridan Manor, it would probably be, I think, inappropriate to ask for any significant landscaping as they're trying to keep costs down, and this is a affordable housing project supported by both the county and the province. But again, we can talk with the applicant to see if there's any room to do anything. But that will sort of be between staff and the applicant. And lastly, the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority, as I mentioned above, has some concerns with respect to water quality and is addressing those with the applicant in conjunction with the health unit. And that's with respect to, I guess, the proximity to the Bayview subdivision, the septic and the wells. But I anticipate that this shouldn't, it's more of an information gathering session is my understanding. So proposed conditions for the site plan control agreement. So when we write the site plan control agreement, there's sort of general, there's a general boilerplate site plan that is used at all the times. And then there is a section for site-specific conditions. So the conditions I've proposed is that snow be plowed after every major snow event, and the snow shall be stored on site outside of the 30-meter water setback. The proponent ensured the removal of garbage at a biweekly minimum through contracted services. That as per the approved site plan, an asphalt apron measuring 2 meters by 20 meters be installed as per the direction and approval of the public works manager. That's to prevent gravel. That the parking lot is gravel. That's to prevent the gravel from going out onto the main road and causing issues there. That the proponent follow all directives, conditions outlined by the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority to ensure water quality meets the standards as set out in the provincial policy statement. That any trees, shrubs, or fencing be kept out of the site triangle at the corner of Queen Street and Bayview Crescent. That's obviously to protect cars turning in and out so that they have a clear line of sight. That an encroachment agreement be signed recognizing any non-conformity of existing structures outside the property in question. So I can flip back to the site if anyone has any questions, but there are a couple sheds sort of crossing over property lines. So just a recognition of that, that they're on a different property, and that no additional development occur on site without appropriate approvals from all relevant agencies. So ultimately, the staff recommendation is that the committee of the whole supports in principle the site plan application submitted by the owners of the property known municipally as 476 Queen Street, and that council passes a resolution authorizing the clerk administrator and Reeve to execute a final site plan control agreement upon finalization of all site plan details and approval of the hydrogeological study by a third-party reviewer. So I will open up the floor for any questions to either myself or the proponent.
Thank you, Joanna. I'll watch for any hands there and I'll open it up. Thanks. So any questions from council? Ian first and then Jeff, and yep, Ian first and Jeff.
Yeah, Joanna, upon approval, when is the if everything's approved, when do they think they're going to start building?
I might let Celestin answer that, but I believe it's probably as soon as possible. I know he's been trying really hard to get this going, so we've been moving this through the process as quickly as possible. But if you'd like to take that question, you can go ahead.
Yeah, no, definitely we want to get going as soon as possible, because there are some financial conditions tied to the schedule. We're supposed to complete the construction of this project by the end of this year, because funding are approved for this year. So that's why we've been hoping to get this as soon as possible and get started.
Good. Yes,
Well,
Ian.
The building construction is going to be similar to what's being built there, like concrete rooms, or is it going to be all wooden?
It would be wooden.
It is wooden.
Yes, it would be wooden frame,
Okay.
and of course siding, aluminum siding, most likely.
Okay.
Thank you, Ian. Jeff next.
Thank you. Yeah, Reeve, for Celestin, I have a question. In your industry, do you do water testing like on a weekly or a monthly basis?
Do our testing on a monthly basis, and we've done it ever since we've been there. We've had no bad results. all the results are in line, or I mean, in conformance with the Ministry of Environment. So this is something that we will certainly pass on to the River Valley Authority, just to show that we are in operation and we are in conformance with the regulation as to the water quality.
I have I gotta have a couple follow-up just to make sure. Now, as far as and I appreciate that, because I know you have you do water quality tests obviously all the time there. I guess do you know, have you had to pay anything to prove the water quality at all so far during this process, or has it just been showing water quality tests?
Well, we paid, but we get reimbursed by the Lanark County for the expenses related to the drinking water. There is a sampling. We send all our samples to a lab in what's this? The big city. The name doesn't come up. Yeah, we send our samples there, and we get results within a few days. Those results are also sent to the ministry. The lab send them to the ministry. So
this is part of your monthly yes, request or requirement, correct?
Correct.
So you have to do that every month, but there still is a requirement, and you're sending that to the ministry. But now you are being required to support that to another department. Okay. I appreciate the answer to those questions, because I'm just more curious of extra maybe requirements that were put in place as far as that goes, especially with the water. But you didn't have to do a hydro G study, though. It was just recommended, but you just had to produce the water quality tests.
There was a limited hydro G done, which basically was looking at the capacity of the well and its capacity to recover and provide for the additional residents. And that was done by McIntosh and Perry. And
thank you, sorry.
Result was positive. Yeah, go ahead.
For sure. Yeah, because you're only increasing by about 3 people. Like the room size is getting bigger, but it's more just to give space.
Yeah. Exactly. It's to reduce the density of people in the rooms in general.
Okay, and I appreciate it. This is more of a fact-finding mission that I really wanted to hear about for our sake, and about what you had to go through, like, as far as those type of studies where you already have backup for. So I appreciate you answering my questions in regards to that, and I wish you luck. I hope we can support you along that way and help get your project completed. So thank you again for this.
Thanks for the support. Appreciate
it. Claude?
Thank you, Reeve. Celeste, this is a great project. I'm glad to see this moving forward. I think it's long overdue. Just looking at the drawing, the footprint, the building faces Queen Street, and then there's a building at the back. There is an extension at the back, as there is already. Is that just being extended, or is that part being removed and replaced?
The existing extension will remain there. It's a one story only. It basically is the dining or cafeteria, dining room. That will remain there. Eventually, in the long term, we will renovate that existing structure. We will renovate it and use it for maybe other items like recreation room, or depending. But that will be in the long term, because with the new building we are providing a dining room, which is a bigger dining room.
Right.
For
so
capacity.
Just to follow up, Reeve, so on the main building itself, is a lot of that being renovated, the inside of that main building?
Oh yes, I mean we are renovating as we speak. Not structurally, we're not changing anything, but we have renovated all the bathrooms. We have
I see.
improve the flooring, change the doors. We will change the kitchen. So all the bathrooms are new, and it's looking much better than it was, I would say, a year ago or
Okay.
6 months
One
ago.
more question, if I may, Reeve. The funding of this is all solely on yourself, or is there government funding going into this?
So we do fund it. The government is funding to a fixed amount. Okay. We have committed to fund 10% of it. But because the government funding is a fixed amount, every escalation is on our own. So we will exceed the 10% that we have set. We will probably be more in the 20 to 25% of the total cost by when all is completed. The renovation part of it was a little bit more expensive. My main concern now is the inflation in the building material. Anybody involved with construction now will tell you that lumber, plywood, I-joist, all these things have increased by double, and in some cases triple the price that it was when we were planning this. So there will be a significant price increase, which will be on our own, but the government has set a fixed amount. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so thank you, everybody. I think, Celestin, the exciting thing here also, and I know I appreciate this, that this project is addressing one of the biggest problems that we have, and that's affordable housing. And the issue is almost out of hand. So this can't come soon enough. And certainly that's one of the reasons why I certainly appreciate this. I have two comments, though, two others, please. You mentioned two entrances, and you mentioned that might be an issue that the town has. I think the two entrances that I'm aware of would be where you drive in and then you drive out around like a little medium. And my comment to that would be that you don't have a lot of space there to begin with between the highway and your building. And my belief is that there should be, I guess I could say this to the planner, meaning Joanna. I really think there should be, because of the lack of much space there should be the two entrances, because it's very easy. I'm sure a lot of cars, they drive in and they drive out. Yeah. And there's, it's even difficult to drive in and back up to drive out. But if you have to just drive in and drive out, it's so much easier. But anyways, I just want to make that comment. I would hope that wouldn't be an issue. The other comment or question, yeah. Oh, sorry, Joanna. I'll go to you, and then I'll have my other question. So, Joanna, if you'd like to comment on that, thanks.
Yes. Sorry, I was just going to say that was a comment received from the town of Smiths Falls, so we're required to consider it and address it. And I know that Steve has been back and forth about that, and I might call him up here if he's around. I believe we decided the two entrances were okay, but I think there has to be maybe some further discussion. Steve?
Yeah, we see Steve now on the screen. Steve, do you have a comment on this?
Yes, so I reached out to Smith Falls after they submitted these, and their technologist stated that they had no problems. Smith Falls is the road authority for that section, so it is at their discretion, but they did confirm that the two entrances would be okay for this building.
Perfect, that's great. And my other question is, Celestin, you mentioned that Joanna, I'm sorry, Joanna, you mentioned that the chief building inspector had comments, right?
He's reviewed the plans back and forth with the architect.
Yeah. My question is, has our fire chief reviewed it also?
Yes, he has.
Okay, it's just that maybe I missed it. I didn't see that the fire chief had made comments.
Sorry, no, he did. I didn't put that in there, but it was passed to him. So
Okay,
he's reviewed it.
Perfect. So does council have any other questions? Okay,
No.
well, thanks for this very good report, Joanna. And also thanks for the project, Celestin. And we'll all look forward to moving forward, hopefully with ease. And we can see this to fruition. So thanks very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Then we're going to move on to the next report, and that's yours, Steve, on the half-ton truck. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I had a motion first, and my motion was moved by Jeff Carroll and seconded by Ian Straight, that the committee receive the following report. I guess I don't have one. Was there not one for this? Oh yeah, sorry, I have to go to the bottom of the pile where it was in the beginning. Sorry. There we go. Sorry about that. This motion was moved by Jeff Carroll and seconded by Ian Straight, that the committee of the whole received the following report. That's this Sheridan Manor site plan 476 Queen Street, and that the following be recommended to council. That the committee of the whole supports in principle the site plan application submitted by the owners of property known municipality as 476 Queen Street, and that council passes a resolution authorizing the clerk administrator and Reeve to execute a final site plan control agreement upon finalization of all site plan details and approval of the hydrological study by a third-party reviewer. Any questions? All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. And now we're going to go back to you, Steve, and I think the next one, yes, is on the speed reduction on Bayview Crescent.
Thank you, Reeve. Yeah, so it's a report on speed reduction on Bayview Crescent and Bayview Lane. And the staff recommendation is that committee of the whole direct staff to place bylaw XX 2021 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 3666 2018 to reduce the speed limit on Bayview Crescent and Lane to 30 kilometers an hour on the next council agenda. So there was a delegation by Bayview residents to reduce the speed limit to 35 kilometers an hour. This was presented on May 18th. And as per resolution 182, 2021, staff directed staff to prepare a bylaw. The direction was to prepare a bylaw at 35 kilometers an hour. In the report, staff kind of details about making the speed 30 kilometers an hour. There, in our current bylaw, there's no fives in there. So the direction would be to round to nearest 10th, as in the report, that would go to 40. But I think to increase the safety even more, I brought it down to 30. As I stated, it is not a through road for people to create a shortcut or anything. It's a crescent for deliveries or local residents to commute home. Under regulation section 128, highway traffic act, it states that council of municipality may, for motor vehicles driven on a highway or portion of highway under its jurisdiction by bylaw, prescribe a rate of speed different from the set out in section 1. That's 50 or 80. And the current speed limit is 50 on the section of roadway with Smith Falls is also 50. And that's kind of just to stay consistent with the other in column 3 of the table 1 to try and reduce the number of numbers. I would like to try and keep it to 20, 30, 50, and then 60, and try and keep them all around to the 10s instead of having oddball numbers out there. I imagine we will have other places that want to follow this action, and I believe just doing this will kind of set precedents and keep consistency. On the final page, I just provided a map of the location. There's 2 current 50 kilometer an hour speed limit signs that will just be replaced, and they'll be saved for our inventory. And then there'll be a new sign and post for Bayview Lane if it is required to be there as well. And that is my speed reduction report.
Thank you, Steve. Claus?
No, sorry, I just
Oh,
waved
okay.
my hand.
Any questions? Jeff?
Just so council, I guess knows, Reeve, I did contact the people that did bring this forward to ask them if they had any sort of comments to that, and they really were in favor of it going to 30. So just so people, so I guess council knows, like, I mean, I'm in favor of the staff's support of going to 30 because the residents, the lead person basically, you know, is in favor of that too as well. So.
Okay, anything else? Okay, thank you, Steve, for this. I do have a motion, and it was moved by Jeff Carroll and second by Ian Strait, that the committee of the whole received the following report. The Public Works Manager report is for the speed reduction on Bayview Crescent, and that the following be recommended to council. That the committee of the whole direct staff to place bylaw. Do you know which bylaw number this one would be, Joanna, please? There's no number on it. I guess we can get, well, we can get this one later, but
Is it
I just see that it says XX.
3681-2018?
Yeah.
It's 3835, 2021.
So 3835,
35,
2021.
2021.
Okay, thank you. So that the committee of the whole direct staff to place bylaw 3835, 2021, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 3666, 2018, to reduce the speed limit on Bayview Crescent and Lane to 30 kilometers an hour on the next council agenda. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Moving on to the next one, which is yours, Steve, and that's the half-ton truck proposal results.
Yes, thank you, Reeve. Yes, so the truck 4x4 half-ton truck was tendered as per our procurement policy, 20 days. There was 5 companies ranging from manufacturers to equipment suppliers that obtained off Biddingo. We also sent it out to 7 local dealerships, and we ended up receiving the 2 bids. There's a 3% between the 2 bids. Mike Fair, Chevrolet Buick GMC, was low bid out of Smith Falls. They were $39,630.43, including non-recoverable. And the second bid received was from Bean Chevrolet, and their after non-recoverable was $40,843.41. This was completed as last year there was multiple vehicles set for replacement. This one was deemed to be lowest in that requirement. It got pushed to 2021. I have included the maintenance. As you can see, this year already, we've already had $3,700 in repairs. It is a truck that's being utilized every day. I use the truck myself going to meetings. As lead hand is currently, he uses the Dodge for his activities pretty well every day. The biggest thing here is the timelines. Both dealerships stated that they'd be about 5 months from the purchase order it being issued. And that number seems to just be increasing as the days go on. So that's one thing that they were very informative on. They were kind of stating the sooner it gets done that they really can't guarantee it, any numbers. The next thing was kind of what was submitted. So Mike Fair was a 2022 with a bit smaller engine in it. As you can see, I provided the numbers there. This half-ton, if we're using it as our main hauler, if we had any big trailers, we're doing kind of landscaping or something like that, we might not want this truck. But it has an aluminum trailer that we're pulling around for the summer students. There's no big weight requirements for this truck. And then later on in the report, there was 35 budgeted. This would be a difference of 4,630 and 43 cents, which would also come from reserves. And then the final thing on the report is just kind of the demand and current backlog of vehicles, shortages, the cost of everything's going up. So staff kind of sees this as a time that this number might be a number that only increases from here on out. And then the recommendation would be that committee of the whole direct staff to place award of proposal 2021 PW03 for one half-ton truck to Mike Fair Chevrolet for $39,630.43, including non-recoverable HST on the next council agenda.
Any questions?
Mhm.
Claus?
Yes, thanks for the report, Steve. 5 months is kind of surprising. But anyway, especially when you drive by the dealership, there's all kinds of vehicles sitting on the lot. My question is, though, what are some of the add-ons that you'll be putting onto this truck, such as the GPS system, radio system, and so forth?
So the add-ons on this is basically we put in for obviously the beacon light. That was one thing that's added on there. The radio is obviously in there. We have for the beacon light, we have a back rack there to mount the low profile light on top of, and the spray and box liner with the mats. We upgraded the mats inside as guys, as you're aware, being in the field. We felt it was best to have something we can pull out of the truck and clean and, keep the equipment maintained. It's nothing special other than that. It's pretty basic truck, and it's pretty good cost for what we had.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so seeing no further questions, I do have a motion. It was moved by Ian Straight, seconded by Claus Vandermeer, that the committee of the whole receive the following report, that is the half-ton truck proposal results, and that the following be recommended to council. That the committee of the whole direct staff to place award of proposal 2021 PW03 for one 4x4 half-ton truck to Mike Fair Chevrolet for $39,630.43, including non-recoverable HST on the next council agenda. Seeing no further questions, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Steve, for that one. And moving on, the next one is yours, Joanna, and that's on the appointment of deputy.
Thank you very much, Reeve. So the next report is, I think, mainly administrative in nature. It's just to appoint deputy positions. So typically, both the clerk administrator and treasurer positions back each other up in the absence of the other. So due to vacation, sickness, or a short-term leave. We don't have this backup system in place. Sorry, the dog just scared me. So at this point, I just advise council that we appoint deputy positions prior to proceeding with scheduled vacations occurring. I know I have mine scheduled for July, and I think Andrew is also the treasurer is also in July. So prior to the absence, we would provide the deputy with appropriate passwords, pertinent documentation, and sort of keep each other on board and on track as to what's going on in that department. The Municipal Act states, just for reference, the municipality must appoint a clerk, and it also notes that it must appoint a treasurer. And so the Municipal Act states that the municipality may appoint a deputy treasurer who shall have all the powers and duties of the treasurer under the Act. So council must pass a bylaw in order to appoint these positions to satisfy the authority of the Municipal Act and to allow the positions to legally conduct the appointed duties. I guess basically both the acting clerk administrator and the treasurer keep each other up to date on pretty much everything on a day-to-day basis, and we're actively engaged in each other's sort of business and main goals and priorities. In terms of the rate of pay for a performing duty position, it's laid out in our new personnel policy. And so staff's recommending appointing the clerk administrator as deputy treasurer to act in the absence of the treasurer and vice versa to facilitate the continuity of the positions when we're on leave for whatever the reason. That's that report.
Thank you, Joanna. Any questions? Okay, seeing none. I have a motion moved by Claude Vandermeer, seconded by Karen Jennings, that the committee of the whole receive the appointment of deputy report and that the following be recommended to council. That the committee of the whole direct staff to draft a bylaw appointing the treasurer as the deputy clerk administrator to act in the absence of the clerk administrator. And secondly, to appoint the clerk administrator as the deputy treasurer to act in the absence of the treasurer. Seeing no questions, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Joanna. It sounds like your dog wants to pass a resolution.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's fine. We have to have a little humor here. So moving on, we have another motion here, and that's for the election provider sole sourcing. And it's also yours, Joanna.
Okay, so this is something new to me. I've been attending some clerks meetings, and the last one held on May 18th. Discussions revolved around preparing for the upcoming election. And so one of the main issues they talked about was the procurement of a company to provide the internet telephone services for the election. So I guess in the past, since 2003, the county has been using a company called IntelliVote. And there are several various services who offer the internet telephone voting, but based on various reasons, the clerk sort of discussed the possibility of procuring IntelliVote through a sole sourcing. So I went to our procurement policy, and our township's policy does not allow for sole sourcing of this company because there's not a restricted supply of the required goods or services, and it doesn't meet other criteria outlined for either sole sourcing or single sourcing. However, I guess the majority consensus with the local clerks is that they would like to sort of go above and beyond. A lot of clerks are in the same boat where the procurement policy does not allow sole sourcing. But there's sort of this majority of consensus that we'd like to go this route. So staff would like the authority to proceed with the option of sole sourcing, given that there would be a significant reduction in costs. The vendor is known and respected. Previous elections have run through the IntelliVote, so most issues have been dealt with. And also the voters understand how to use the system and have used it since 2003. So that's helpful in not running into any major concerns. There weren't any issues with the last election. They're a Canadian company, and previously other vendor pricing has not been competitive. Also, just for the record, I did reach out to the clerk administrator on this and asked her historically if she had concerns with this, because you know, with her coming back when the election's happening, I want to be sure she was okay with this, and she indicated that she hadn't had any concerns with IntelliVote. So the recommendation is that section 3.2C request for proposal of the procurement bylaw be waived, and council authorizes sole sourcing with the service provider IntelliVote if all area municipalities have agreed to sole source the procurement.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Joanna. Any questions from council? Jeff?
Just a couple, Reeve. Where is the company located? Are they in Toronto or are they
It's
in?
Nova Scotia, I think. Isn't it
Yes. That's correct. Yeah.
So far away. So, and just on another one, like there was no conflict of interests at all that were raised by other clerks in the municipalities and the surrounding municipalities. The reason why I asked that is like, it's just any sort of like problems that could come up saying that there's a connection for somebody. That's why, you know, I mean, I wouldn't want that to come up in the background. So it's like, that was thoroughly discussed with the clerks to make sure that there was no possibility of a conflict of interest or a sign of favoritism because of someone else.
Nobody indicated that. I mean, it was probably a 2-hour meeting, and everyone just seemed to want to go this route. I have no history, like I said, with it, so I kind of wanted, you know, bringing forward what the sort of the agreement of those clerks were, and I did confirm with, you know, with the clerk administrator that she was okay with this process. So I mean, I can go back and seek further information if you'd like.
For me, sorry to follow up.
Yeah, I could also point out, Jeff, to your question, I do believe that we've had in Televote at least 2 elections, possibly 3, but at least 2. Yes, and we did have some minor problems the first election with Televote, and a lot of it had to do with the amount of time and people trying to get on and couldn't and so on. But that was the very first time, and I think it actually was the first time that they were doing it that year, and so those were corrected in a really positive way. And I don't recall us having little or few problems the last time, but certainly they worked really hard to upgrade their work. And was I correct, Joanne? Was it Nova Scotia?
Yeah.
Because I do remember they were so good at it and so professional that the first year they were going to do that the first time. They actually presented to each council and gave us all the details and tried to help us out and so on. So it sounded quite good. But you had another comment, Jeff, I think?
Yeah. And that, I wasn't trying to allude to any about that side of it, because if we're going to bypass this and not go out there, I want to make sure there's no, I don't want to say a skeleton in the closet, but there's nothing in the background out there. And if nobody said anything about it for a conflict and no one stepped aside, I don't need you to go back and ask. It's just more of like everybody knows what the rules are. I was just curious if there was anything out there. If there isn't, it just makes me more comfortable with bypassing it. That's all. So.
Yeah, I certainly hadn't heard anything, but that's why the recommendation sort of says we're only going to do it if everybody else.
Yeah.
If everybody else does it, just to have that extra sort of security.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody, on this. I have a motion. It was moved by Karen Jennings, second by Jeff Carroll, that the Committee of the Whole receive the election provider sole sourcing report and that the following be recommended to Council. That section 3.2 C, request for proposal of the procurement bylaw be waived and Council authorizes sole sourcing with the service provider in Televote if all area municipalities have agreed to sole source procurement. See no further questions. All in favor? And thank you. That's carried. And moving on, the next one is the recreation cost sharing weighted assessment quote. That's yours, Jasmine.
Okay. So we had a recreation cost sharing agreement on May 6th, and the Smith Falls CAO reached out to Mr. Howard Allen to obtain a quote to update the recreation cost, the weighted assessment model with current assessment values. So essentially, we were trying to figure out how to distribute the cost sharing between all the partner municipalities. And whether it's being done appropriately. So the group essentially wanted an update from the 2006 analysis. And so we received a quote from Mr. Allen for how much it would cost to jointly review to review this distribution and to be sure it's still up to date and current. The cost came in at between $7,750 and $8,000 for our payment of him to do his cost analysis on this topic. So the recommendation is that council approve Mr. Howard Allen's quote and move forward with asking him to review the 2016 analysis cost sharing model to ensure it is up to date.
How much did you say our share was?
Our share was
$958.
Yeah.
No,
No, 21.
I think it's 2157.
No, Drummond North Elmslie has 2 lines, which is what throws your numbers
Oh,
out.
sorry. Yeah,
958.
950. Thanks, Karen.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, sorry, that table obviously got skewed in there. 958.
Any questions on this? Clause?
So Joanna, this is just a fee to do the study?
This is just a fee to do the weighted assessment again it was done in 2016. And so they're looking at ensuring, any new assessment roles, any new development gets included. So if anyone was experiencing any extra growth or particular growth, it would get captured in this review, and therefore the percentages would be
So
It's a total cost of $8,000.
for all the municipalities to.
Oh, yeah, no, I realize that.
Yeah.
That's expensive.
And I guess the last time it had been 7,000. It's in this report here, 7,081. So it's gone up a little bit.
I still say it's expensive.
If I can point out a couple things, just to be clear, it wasn't the Smith Falls themselves who went to Mr. Allen. It was the 6 mayors and reeves. The 6 of us were in the meeting, and we all decided that was the best way to go. So that's what happened. There were 6 of us, and one of the reasons why it has to be done is because there's been quite a bit of growth. There's been more growth in some areas than others. So and with that growth, there's going to be reassessment, which means that the figures more or less changed, some a little up, some a little down, but it depends on the growth. Karen, please.
So I'm curious, you guys, like as in the various municipalities, don't have this formula that was used to be able to plug in our new assessments from 2020. Well, we're now in 2021 into so using it to come up with the percentage to say, if the residential assessment is this in each of those municipalities, that we can't do the percentages ourselves?
Yeah.
I think the percentages are the same, but somebody has to look into all of the changes, I believe, that has taken place over the last few years with the growth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Karen, and then Claus. But Joanna, if you remember what was said in the meeting about that, please.
I'm trying to think. I know that they discussed that, and I was trying to think what was said. I think they figured that the individual treasurers could calculate it, but then if each treasurer came up with something slightly different, there'd be a whole lot of back and forth and staff time and that sort of thing. I believe that's what was said. So it made sense to go to get it done, so as to not go back and forth speculating between treasurers with the amounts and the assessments. But
I think you're right, because there were comments made that if we were going to try to do it in-house, first of all, the results would be different probably, but secondly, it was going to mean more work for 6 different treasurers. And that's why, because Mr. Allen had done it the first time and he was already aware of it and so on. But anyways, that's why we went to him. So Karen, and then to Claus. So Karen.
Well, I guess I'm just thinking of our tax roll has at the front or at the back, wherever they file it now, a total of what the residential assessment is. But I guess it's because it's not just based on residential, it's also based off a weighted factor, as in the
Yeah.
assessment that's closest to the arena has a higher weighted effect versus the assessment that's in the
Yep, that's right.
farthest southeast corner of our municipality.
That's perfectly correct. And that's how we worked on it about whatever, 5-6 years ago. And we tried, we discussed many different models, and that's the one we come up with, which we thought was the most fair. So Claus, I'll go to you next.
I thank you, Ruby. I still wonder, like, you're saying that Mr. Allen did this a number of years ago, did a cost analysis of that.
Yes,
correct?
yeah.
I'm just wondering why he couldn't use the same formula now.
Because well, he's probably using the same formula, but all the figures are all different. So he has to reassess all. The population growth has changed in all 6 municipalities. So
Yes.
you know, this way, if we move forward, if one municipality grows a little bit more than others, then they'll pay slightly more.
And
If-
it depends on what areas it grows.
And if your population happens to go down a little bit, then you'd pay a little bit less. And in this report, I don't have it in front of me because I can't look at it, and because I have to watch the screen. But when I read the report, as you will see also, that it was pointed out that you know, this will change ongoing, and it just, you know, it's going to happen. There's nothing that we can do about it. So this was just we thought this was the most fair way to do it, but this isn't anything new. We came up with that about 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay.
And, yeah. Okay, anything else on this, Jeff?
I mean, just to piggyback a little bit off Claus's point, Deputy Vadimir's point is exactly like, it is a little pricey because, like, yeah, he's got to get his numbers back again, but he's not recreating the formula. Like, I guess that's the hardest part, is that it's the same formula. It's just rejigging. I say rejigging the numbers, but like just kind of figuring that out. So I mean, you would think it'd be significant. Now I understand it's years later, but you think it would be a little bit less. But that being said, I'm curious because Smith Falls had some great growth too as well. So I'm very curious of where the percentages changes might happen to as well at the end of this, because I think we might see a bigger share that goes towards Smith Falls too as well. So anyways, I do have a little bit of a problem with the costs. I don't understand why it's that high when we're just refiguring it out. I'd like to, you know, but it's not a big cost to us at the end of the day. So I mean, I get it, and it's something we need to do because it is one of our services. But yeah, it's a tricky one. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, sorry, Karen, you go ahead.
I agree. I mean, the formula's already been created. So for example, I'm guessing that it's taking the subcategories out of our role, which reference then the areas, as I say, what are closest to the municipality, putting them in to each of those categories of it's weighted at 80%, it's weighted at 50%, it's weighted at 20%. But the formula is already there. It's just manually keying in from each of them. That 8,000 seems excessive, to be honest, the 7,000 originally, because this would have come into place the very first time you went to a weighted assessment. That's where the most cost should have come through. And after that, it should have been a matter of plugging the figures in from each of those areas and away it goes. But
And
we don't have
as
the
somebody
details.
already pointed out, it's whatever 6 or 7 years later. So I guess obviously salaries do go up, which would account for some of that.
Yeah.
For some of that, for sure, if over a 7-year period.
I don't buy that.
Joanna, and then Jeff, please.
I was just going to say, I don't have the date, but I know I was hoping we'd have Howard Allen here as a delegation tonight to go over the audit And I was hoping he would be able to sort of speak to this briefly, but that didn't happen. But I don't know exactly what the time frame is on this, but if Howard Allen is going to be here on the next meeting on the 15th, maybe it's something we could bring forward and have him talk to us about. That's an option.
Yeah. I think the timeline, Joanna, and to council, I think the timeline, I believe, is the end of the year.
It's time.
Yeah.
We've got time.
Yeah, so we have lots of time, but it would be really great, I think, if we did ask directly that question to Mr. Allen. And I guess my one comment would be that I'm not sure who else we could go out to right now who might have a handle on this more than Mr. Allen, because he had done it before. But that's just one concern that I would have. So Ian, I'll go to you, please.
Yeah, I can actually kind of concur with that idea. It'd be nice to have a conversation with Mr. Allen, understand how he comes up with the numbers and get a better understanding. Not only that, kind of if we're going to pay for somebody to do it again, let's make sure that we ensure that it is updatable easily, so we don't have to incur this cost again. And maybe it can be done, using some the information that everybody, that all the municipalities have readily available, and it can be updated more frequently than every 6 or 7 years, so that the municipalities that are really growing are paying for the share. I guess my last little piece is, we're accounting for 100% of the usage between the municipalities that are listed there on the sheet. I'm kind of wondering how many people outside of outside of the municipalities that are listed actually use the arena. I've heard people coming from Ottawa and everything else. So how does that get accounted for? And whose percentage is that being backed on?
I think that's a really good question, Ian, and I'm wondering, with council's permission, maybe staff direction. First, I'll ask you the question, Joanna. Would it be possible that we could pose some of these questions to Malcolm Morris, who was in direct conversation with Mr. Allen? We might be able to come up with. I'm not saying we shouldn't talk to Mr. Allen. I think it's really good, but could we just pose a couple of these questions to the town before our next meeting?
Yeah, I mean, it can go to the town to ask, or we could ask Howard directly ourselves if we're working with him on the audit. There's probably no.
Well, I just think it's good to ask the question, before the meeting, instead of putting somebody on the spot and maybe not having the backup facts. But I am sure that Malcolm could come up with the answers to a couple of these questions, which are important. And I guess, do you need staff direction to do that?
Yeah, if you could give me staff direction on what you'd like, how you'd like to proceed.
So Jeff, did you have a comment first?
Yeah, just a couple of things just as we're going along with this is because I'm curious if Mr. Allen has the rights to the formula. Does he have a copyright where nobody else can do that? No. Or because it's now a form to us, is it ours per se, or Smiths Falls, so they can continue to use that? Because then you could go out to other accounting firms and say, here's the formula, and do it. It's another one of those things where and I'd be curious to know what the time frame is. Is it a 20-hour project for something we got to do? I don't know. That's a harder question for them to answer, because if it is kind of steep, obviously. And just to piggyback, maybe if we're asking Malcolm some of those questions off of Councillor Straight's thought process, exactly. There's so many out-of-towners that use it, which I think is fantastic because it helps pay for the cost of the unit. But with doing these type of agreements, I'm really curious of why there's not a resident and a non-resident sort of fee. And I know it's employed by many places. The Perth pool is a great example of it. So it'd be nice. And the reason why people come from Ottawa is obviously it's cheaper to and the bigger cities, because it's cheaper to rent ice at that rink. So just be curious to know about that. A bit of an incentive. I agree with the cross sharing in principle, but usually because there's there's a resident and a non-resident fee that kind of goes along with it. So.
Yes, okay, thanks. And I guess, oh, sorry, Claus, I see your hand.
Yeah, and to Councillor Carroll's point, which is a very good point, the reason we don't know all these things is because we're not allowed to sit on the management board.
So the other thing is, so if I could get staff direction, I'm just going to go around and ask everybody then, so that we could, the staff direction would be that for our staff to pose the questions that has come up already tonight in this meeting to Smith Falls, and see if we can get these answers back. The other thing is that, like, we will be having more of these cost sharing meetings with the 6 reeves and mayors. And Joanna, maybe that some of these questions could be asked at our next meeting also. Like, they may have been asked before, but I just don't have the exact answer. So I think it would be good to, we can ask those questions in our next cost sharing meeting. But in the meantime, I'd like to be able to get staff direction to go ahead and talk to Smith Falls about this. Joanna first, and then we'll go from there.
So before you get staff direction, there had been a motion that council approved Mr. Howard Allen's quote move forward with asking him to review. I get the sense that that's maybe we should take the vote on that and then move forward to writing another resolution.
Yeah, and I suspect that I think the proper way to do this would be to have this resolution deferred then, because right now, you know, all 6 municipalities, we all sort of gave consent, but obviously it has to, and including myself, all 6 of us gave consent to go forward, but obviously we have to each bring it back to our councils, and we have some legitimate questions that I can't answer, I guess, and Joanna. So we've got lots of time, but as I said, right now, I'm not sure. Maybe there'll be all kinds of questions come up from the other 5 municipalities also. I don't know that, but as it stands, all 6 reeves and mayors gave consent to use Mr. Allen to get this done. But then I'll read this motion first, and then we can deal with it. It was moved by Jeff Carroll and seconded by Ian Straight that the committee of the whole received the following report: the recreation cost sharing weighted assessment quote, and that the following be recommended to council: that council approve Mr. Howard Allen's quote and move forward with asking him to review the 2016 analysis cost sharing model to ensure it is up to date. All in favor? Yes, Jeff.
Okay, so can we move to defer maybe? Because like we're not in a big rush here. So I say we move to defer. Just I'm curious also to hear maybe some feedback from other municipalities too as well to that point. So I'm game for deferring if everybody else is.
Claus?
Well, I think we need to call the vote, and if it gets turned down, then we can put another motion on the floor to defer it.
Well, yeah, but this motion is still going to be in place. The exact same motion could be in place after we come after our next meeting. All we have to do is defer this, and then it'll come back.
Okay.
Whatever is the proper way to do this. Maybe Janet tell us. In the past, we've had resolutions where we've simply where we were waiting for answers, which is what we're doing here. In the past, we've certainly just deferred this.
I think you can. I believe you can defer this.
So to do that, I just have to make sure from our the mover and seconder, that being Jeff and Ian, if that's okay to defer this. Jeff and Ian, 2 hands up, yes. So this, then I will, and then is that, I'll ask the vote then to defer this, and I've seen the move from the mover and seconder already. Claus, is that okay?
Yes.
And Karen?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So this one is deferred, and I think we just need, then we've given, do you have the staff direction then, Joanna? Do you want to just sort of read that out then so that we're clear?
Yeah, I'm just trying to type it right now. That council directs staff to ask additional questions regarding
The cost sharing agreement.
cost sharing agreement weighted assessment.
Okay, so then we have, I do think that we have staff direction for that already. I don't think we need to, everybody's okay with that?
Consensus?
Nobody opposed? Nobody opposed? Okay. All right, then that's what we're going to do for that one. And as I said, like we started this, the six of us started this process in lots of time. I'm sure that it's the end. One of us asked that question, and I think it was the end of the year. And the other thing is, Joanna, I'm just going to ask, did you have a chance to see the minutes that were sent to us?
I did. I sent them out very
Okay.
recently, like about 20 minutes before the meeting. So I apologize for
good.
that. I was
No,
jammed
that-
up this afternoon. So
No, that's okay. Just to let council know that I received those minutes of the meeting, so you can read exactly what was asked and said in the minutes of the last meeting, which was May the 6th. So I just we only received it this afternoon, and I asked Joanne if she would send it out to everybody. So you will see the minutes, and then this will come back hopefully at the next meeting, if we have the answers. Okay, thanks for that, everybody. We're going to go to the next issue, and that is the health and safety modifications. And Joanna, that is yours also.
okay, so very recently, while we were sort of preparing for the arrival of summer students, staff began reviewing current health and safety policies that were in place to be sure, of course, that students would have all the information they needed to work safely and have the knowledge to work safely. So when I went in to look at standard operating procedures, which are, fairly standard little guidelines, how to use a step ladder, how to use chainsaw, or whatever. There's just various procedures for using different pieces of equipment. There were some in place for the garage, and there were some ones for the administrative office. However, staff felt that perhaps we could have a more thorough review. And so much of this work has already actually been undertaken by our summer students by examining standard operating procedures that exist in other municipalities. And so our summer student has looked at some of these standard operating procedures and has started to tailor make them to suit Montague Township. So through this process, we've added some additional SOPs to both Public Works and the administrative side of things. We have the next part of the process is we've got them written, but we need to get, so for example, the Public Works manager to review those to be sure that they are appropriate. If we're missing any, if like anything we need, or things that are maybe just overkill that we can take out. We've also started another section of general SOPs, and these are procedures that both administrative and public works groups should be reviewing every year. We've also started.
Sorry, I'm in a meeting, Ash. I have to call you back.
We've also started a tracking system to get in place so that we can ensure that every member of staff has reviewed these standard operating procedures yearly. That includes initialing all the ones that are read, that they're required to read based on whether they're administration or whether they're public works, and then they need to be filed in the appropriate personnel file. LIMS training is another item that has to be reviewed annually. In speaking with staff, they've noted this has been occurring yearly, but isn't necessarily tracked. So the administrative assistant is now preparing spreadsheets to track all of the health and safety training that's being undertaken in the workplace, including working from heights training in closed spaces, standard operating procedures, first aid, fire extinguisher training, that sort of thing. So then we have an idea of which staff have been trained in what regard, when the last time they were trained is, if their training is outdated, do they need to be trained again? And then we can set up an appropriate schedule for that training. Policies such as the workplace harassment and violence policy seem to be up to date, but I haven't got quite in depth into that given time constraints, but I'm hoping to continue to work on the health and safety update to see if there's any other policies or programs that we need to put in place for the coming year. So that's just the update on health and safety.
Thank you, Joanna. Karen?
It's very good. Only one suggestion I could give is that you make note of, you're going to have the public works manager, for example, review some of the SOPs for the garage. Always ensure that your staff have reviewed it as well, because they are the ones that are usually doing the procedures. So always ensure that staff have had a chance to review as well, so that they have, in my opinion, in my experiences, they come up with some great ideas about exactly how things go. So just that's a little point to put in there, but that's great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Anything else? Okay, see no further questions. I have a motion, was moved by Ian Straight, second by Claude Vandermeer, that the committee of the whole receive the health and safety modifications report, and that the following be recommended to council, that council receive the health and safety update for information only. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. And next we have the hydrogeological agreement with RVCA.
Okay. This is just sort of, this was brought before council. I don't have the date, but probably a couple months ago. And I was asked to go back and get an agreement with the Conservation Authority with respect to the hydrogeological studies and having them as a third-party reviewer. But what I've sort of learned as I've gone back is that Montague Township has an existing service agreement with the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority because we fall under Lanark County. So anything that's for land division related files, such as subdivisions and severances, we already have a standing agreement with the Conservation Authority. The same services are currently being provided to us for official plan, zoning, site plan agreements, minor variances, but on an informal or an as-needed basis. And we do not have a formally recognized agreement specifically with the township for those items. So I noted that it would be prudent to ensure a service agreement is reviewed and signed with the Conservation Authority. This ensures that we have appropriate third-party reviewers for major projects, such as the one we just heard, the Sheridan Manor. So the idea here is that the using the Sheridan Manor example, the Smith Falls planner requested that we have a third-party reviewer look at the hydrogeological study, and the Conservation Authority could have, because we don't have an agreement, said, we don't really have the time to do this right now. The developer would just be sitting there, holding the bag, not able to move forward. I mean, thankfully, the Conservation Authority did, move forward and make comments on that. But it's, if we are going to be getting larger projects, subdivisions or large buildings and such, and even some very complex severances, it'd be good to have this sort of agreement in place. It ensures protection for all parties and ensures that there are no surprises, such as longer than normal response time. They have put in this agreement services that include but aren't limited to review of hydrogeological studies, review of environmental impact assessments, site drainage plan review, floodplain management, The current fees that are already in place won't change. They also would agree further to review any technical studies or provide evidence at the LPAT and attend pre-consultation meetings. What I thought was important to note, as I had heard some sort of concerns in our previous meeting, that nothing in the agreement precludes the parties from a respectful disagreement on issues, nor does it stop us from getting an alternative opinion if we feel it's necessary. The period of this agreement would be for 2 years with an automatic extension of 2 years unless terminated by either party. So that's sort of the gist of things. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
A clause, please.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Claus. Sorry, Claus.
Yeah, sorry. It's in a different spot tonight for some stupid reason or other. Sorry. Anyway, Joanna, with this type of agreement, then, if there was an insurance claim, would this abolish us for responsibility? Would it fall on the RBC's responsibility if there was some kind of a claim on whatever?
With respect to, for example, water quality?
Yeah.
I mean, I think because you're a municipality, there'd always be some sort of liability. But I think we could fall back on the fact that we'd had professional guidance by a professional hydrogeologist. And will you get out of the claim entirely? I don't think so, just by nature of the fact that we're a municipality, but it might go a long way.
Okay, and I was just curious, like with this kind of an agreement, if it would, take the responsibility away from us if there was a water quality problem or something, but probably not. Okay,
So
thank you.
Just to follow up, Claus, we've all heard about this big issue that we oppose vehemently, that being this joint and several liability.
I know.
And when somebody wants to sue, they sue everybody, and they sue as many municipalities as they can because they figure that the taxpayers have a deep pocket, which I obviously disagree with, but that's how the people look at it. So they sue everybody. You may get 1%, you may get 10%, you may get 50%, you might even get more. But certainly we would be on the block, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I was just hoping with some kind of agreement like this here that RVCA would be responsible, but wishful thinking.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Jeff?
Thank you, Reed Dobson, through you. Real quick, I guess, so we have under Lanark County, the land division files. So are we obligated in that agreement? Or when does that agreement come up? Do we know when that agreement then comes up again?
I don't, but I can get that information for you.
I'm curious. I'm curious as far as that goes, as far as what the other opportunities or maybe options are out there as far as, for competitiveness and everything else. And also, is there other options besides RVCA for exactly what's being proposed, as in like other, I guess, agencies that do the same service that we could get instead, like as contract instead, or is RVCA our only option?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think you brought this up last time, and my answer was yes. There are other companies that do provide this service. I think that I can speak that the RVCA is more third party. I mean, there's always third parties, but many other companies that do these studies work for developers more often than not, so may not always be available to do those third party reviews depending on which developers they're working with at a particular time. They may not be seen to be quite as there could be conflict of interest depending on what other companies you use, but it's certainly something like that I'd be willing to investigate. Just last time we had this conversation, I was directed to go ahead and look at this agreement. So certainly if there's a change of heart, I can go back and explore other options. It's just, Montague does use, like I said, the Conservation Authority at the county level, and currently they are doing the reviews. We just don't have that formal agreement.
I have one more. I hope it's not a silly question. Sorry, Reeve. We say it's always third party, but are they not intertwined already in a lot of these decisions? So how are they a third party when they're sort of giving and is this like the third party sort of against, or like when the two planners are discussing something?
Yeah, you'd have it's just as if it's just like a two planner debate pointing out different points. So the developer would have their hydrogeological assessor, say, or whatever the agreement happens to be. I'm using hydro-G just because it happens to be kind of big right now. The developer would have their assessment done, and then it's like a peer review. The Conservation Authority would have their peer review. And if those two disagreed, there was always the option of either council or the developer to have another person come in and sort of do another review. That would be at the cost of the developer. But I mean, there's always that option to have yet three people look at it, you know?
Okay, that's fair. Thank you. Thank you, Joanna.
Okay, thanks, Jeff, for that. And so we do have a motion here, so I'm going to move it. I'm going to read it and we can vote on it. Or if you're going to be wanting to wait and defer this also for something further, then we'll deal with it after I read it.
Read?
Pardon me? Yes,
Read.
sorry, Ian.
I guess before we go to the next step, I kind of agree with Councillor Carroll on this. I'd like to see what options maybe are out there and that are available. Just so that, I don't think we've ever undertaken really or even had that discussion, and maybe even have the ability to talk to some of these people just to kind of get their point of view on things. I don't know. Is that a big job, Joanna?
No, it's not a big job. We can certainly reach out to various companies I'd have to work through that in my head, whether we'd have to do an RFP or what exactly we'd have to do to figure out, costs and what they're willing to assess or not. The Conservation Authority would always be commenting on anything within their realm, though, in terms of floodplain, wetlands, that type of thing. That's always within their jurisdiction and authority. But some of the studies we're talking about, like hydrogeological studies specifically,
I guess
a third party.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
My wondering is we had that, you just said a bit earlier. Well, what one person does, the contractor does hydrological study, and the Conservation Authority say they do theirs, and they don't agree. So I'm just wondering, are there different philosophies out there, or how do people come about this information in different ways? That two people that are looking at something that seems like it should come out the same scenario at the end of the day, come out at opposite ends of the spectrum. So I'm just wondering if there's a way to get a little bit more maybe comprehensive view, maybe from a different set of eyes. Before we,
I mean, to be clear, I think even if you didn't have the Conservation Authority, if you took them out of the equation and you had another company, the possibility is to still have two professionals disagree. You could end up in exactly the same position, and then you have to have another one come in and sort of have that discussion. I suspect, I mean, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a hydrogeologist, I don't know, but I can say two planners can look at exactly the same file and come up with two totally different answers. I suspect it's the same thing. It's not necessarily black and white. It's shades of gray, or how you perceive or interpret legislation.
So essentially nothing's cut in stone.
Nothing is ever going to be cut in stone. So it doesn't really matter. Well, it doesn't matter which way you go, but I think you could end up in the same scenario regardless.
It seems to me that like, it's not a bad idea. It's certainly never a bad idea to look around for other companies or agencies to do a task for us. But it certainly seems to me that RVCA would be the logical people to do a hydrogeological study or agreement, that we have an agreement with them. It seems like they're the obvious ones to be involved. I mean, they're already involved in everything else to do with water quality. So it just seems to me that they're the obvious ones, but you know, if we, but like I said, at the same time, it's never a bad idea. And as you said, Ian, like, we've never actually, I don't think we've ever actually brought it to a meeting and discussed whether there are other people out there that do these things or not. But anyways, I do have, yes, Jeff?
One more quick question, sorry, just to bring it up, is the timelines, because we're talking about trying to make sure that there's a timeline. So to, like, by doing something like this, I mean, I know in the past, and I've heard it from other municipalities too as well, like sort of the waiting to get some of this stuff back. So would this make it so the waiting, I don't want to say disappears, but it makes it obviously like some more of an accountability of getting something done? Because I mean, you know, and I don't want to speak in sort of hypotheticals, but I mean, in the sense of where if someone's waiting 6 months for a hydro G or one of those studies, and it's like, it's really delaying. It's for me, it's all about the red tape and the delaying of the process and the extra things that don't need to be done. If they need to be done, it's great. But I guess, is there a time frame then too as well, to make sure that developers know that that if we do have something in there, that there's a speed turnaround, I guess, per se?
I'm not sure that there's a timeline, but I know that we made it quite clear that when Summer was presenting to us the last time, we made it very clear about our concerns about these things taking so long, and she seemed to be responding very positively, like that that RVCA realizes that, and that is one of the things that they need to improve also, to be able to come back a little quicker with some of these reports. Joanna?
So if I can just sort of go back to the example that we've just seen with Sheridan Manor. I don't have the exact date, but I believe we received a complete application sort of, you know, mid to late April. We circulated it right away to all the required agencies, and we gave, I believe, 20 days for comments, and then we you know, then set up the public meeting tonight. But you know, I had to put the report together and that stuff. But we did receive comments from the Conservation Authority on the hydrogeological study within that time frame. So I think that is a fairly decent turnaround time. I do also think that, speaking of turnaround times in general, if we are going to continue with these large projects, we should have somebody in place, which is why I had brought this up to begin with, to get it moving. So we would have somebody in place. Whether or not it's the Conservation Authority or whether it's another company, it's all about workload, right? And so I think we're all aware that there's a pile of development out there, and every single company, Conservation Authority or private company alike, is overrun with work. So I can't speak for, I really don't know whether timelines would be improved or not. But again, it's something, if it's the direction of council, that I can follow up with on costs and timelines to see what we have.
Jeff?
Sorry, one more thing as we're going along with this, is this is great discussion, and I guess to try to make, to maybe move things along, is there an exit clause that we can put in this, where like we can give 60 days to exit out of the contract?
I can put anything in that agreement that we can forward to them. I believe the contract is for 2 years, and then anyone can exit after that. But if we want to do something else, you just direct me and I can do that as well.
So, follow-up brief, sorry. I would go in favor of it if we had that exit clause in there, just for the fact as if we get discussion about the some of the land division stuff where the county's with them, and I'm kind of curious about that contract and everything else. But I mean, I want to move things forward for us too as well. And if we can get that into that clause into the contract, I'd be for this, because it gives us the opportunity to discuss this, you know, after summer talks with us and everything else. But at least we can move forward with it, and then we can still exit it if there's a problem down the road, if we can put that in there. And if people are, if the rest of council is okay with that.
I'll add that into the motion here, Jeff, and then I can read it. And we'll see. Okay. If there's nothing else, I do have a motion here. It was moved by Claus Vandermeer and seconded by Karen Jennings, that the committee of the whole received the hydrogeological agreement with RVCA, and that the following be recommended to council: that the committee of the whole directs staff to bring the service agreement with an exit clause to council for approval. Does that pass?
Sounds good for me.
Okay. All right, all in favor? Joanna first.
Sorry, do we have a time period for that exit clause, or just an exit clause? Because there is an exit clause in there, but it's 2 years. So
60 days, I think. Is
everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just with a 60-day exit clause. And so if we pass this, Joanna, and if you find out then that they do not want to go along with this, then I guess you have to bring this back to us. Okay, all in favor of this? That's carried, thank you. And now next we have the planned watering of the 100 trees.
Mute.
And-
Mute. There we go.
Okay, I guess, yeah, Claus has already declared his conflict. So Joanna, this is for you.
Okay. So on May 10th, the Township of Moyu received 100 free trees from the county because they were unable to run the planned tree giveaway program. It was sort of a last minute thing. So the trees were delivered, they're bare root trees, quite small. And because they're bare root, they had to be planted within 1 or 2 days to ensure the survival. So at that time, the trees were delivered, I believe, on Monday, and staff asked the Public Works summer students to plant the trees in various locations that were a 22-acre property owned along Rosedale Road, on the soccer field behind Montague Public School. We had some discussions with the school board on that. I think about 4 at the airport, the Rosedale playground area, and at the municipal office. So once the trees were sort of out of immediate danger, because we had to get them planted, we began to explore options for watering them to be sure that they would survive. We at first thought the summer students could have the time and the capacity to do that. We were sort of only the one issue is that there was no way to get water to the site aside from using the water truck and then carrying pails of water to water the trees. So the issue at the time and currently still is that the water truck is being used for grading and for calcium, I believe. So on May 16th, the trees hadn't been watered for 6 days. So actually, Reeve Dobson and Deputy Reeve Vandermeer voluntarily went out and provided water to the trees. In the absence of being able to make any decision, because there was not appropriate time given the council meeting, we had the decision to have the Deputy Reeve water the trees because he had the equipment available under his current custodial contract. So essentially, in the meantime, staff has reached out to several companies to determine what the financial cost would be to complete the watering operations for the remainder of the summer. Typically, we understand a contractor who would have planted these trees as part of a contract would be watering them at least twice per week. But I'm suggesting that the trees get watered once a week to maintain minimal financial costs to the municipality because it was not a budgeted item. So we did call four different landscaping areas, and they all noted they were too busy. They don't do watering, or they didn't return the call. The only person who provided a quote was Green Acres Farms at a cost of $100 plus HST per trip, and that's to be done weekly. So I wanted to sort of extend apologies to council, for making the decision to continue watering the trees, without following the appropriate procedure. I'm hoping that council will recognize the sort of situation that we were in, and I had to make a call. But moving forward, we've gone and obtained the appropriate quotes as required by the procurement policy. So the recommendation is that council direct staff proceed with completing the contract with Green Acres Farms for the watering of the 100 trees once per week.
Thank you, Joanna. Just to clarify one thing that you said, the $100 per watering basically is for 2 people for 2 hours. It's 2 people for 2 hours, and I guess I would only make one comment, and that is that we know how dry it's been, really way too dry. And to me, for brand new little trees like these are, and by the way, I've checked out, and the maple trees are all have the leaves are already starting to come out on the maple trees and so on. But I think it's way too dry to just do them once a week. My feeling is they should be done at least twice a week, but I'll just throw that out to council, and I'll open it up to council for any questions and comments. And first, I think it's yours, Karen.
How long is it that we're going to be doing this? From now till when?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know if I put that in there. I would suggest until probably the end of September, but I'm open to council's discussion on that. I think that's the hottest sort of months.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it depends on how much it starts to, or how much it rains also. If we get a really good rainfall, well, then they probably don't need to be done. Maybe even once or twice for the week. But certainly if it stays dry, I don't really think that once a week is enough. And the other thing is to answer your question, Karen, also is that I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, Joanna, but I thought maybe there might be some possibility a little later on, whether it be in July or August or September, when the public works, if they did have time, they might be able to do some of it with the watering, their own watering truck. But the problem with that would be accessibility, because in a lot of cases, I did go out with Green Acres the one time to help to get these trees watered because they had to be done. And I could see that in almost every case, it would be very difficult for the big water truck to get to the trees. So the smaller truck was certainly a better way to go. And just to let everybody know that with the smaller truck that Green Acres uses, there is a a long hose that comes off the tank, which you can pull along from tree to tree to tree, which is not the capability that our fire truck has, our public works water truck has. So just wanted to make those comments. Karen, did you have something else? No? Anybody else then, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I mean, good that you made the decision to water the trees, because it'd be a shame that we planted 100 trees and they all died on us. So I think that's great to make sure that we did that. And I mean, I also like kudos to Claus for getting out there and helping the township out too as well. I think that should be commended for sure, because he stepped up to help make sure. And I know it's busy for him too as well. But on that note, I'm just trying to think of costing. So if we did go out for, like, we're talking about $1,200, which is a good chunk, and I'm just trying to figure out, is it worthwhile for us to buy some sort of little tank? And I'm just, and like Googling and finding like a 325 gallon pickup truck tank for $600 in Canada, and you can have it shipped by Friday, June 11th. And I'm just kind of curious of, like, sorry, but I'm trying to think of, is it worthwhile for us to invest in something like that? That's just what I found. So I don't know anything about water tanks go in the back of a truck. It's just a pickup water truck tank. That's 325 gallons. If that's, sufficient or not, I have no idea, but I'm just more curious. Next year might come and we may need to water them still, because they're still pretty young trees, and other things. Is this something that might be a smarter look at purchasing for the back of one of our trucks? If we can do it for sub $1,000, it might be worthwhile, especially for the years in the future too as well.
I may direct that question to Steve if he's with us. I think we can certainly talk about that, but the intent is we still need to get these watered, so we still need to make some decision of some sort.
Totally.
Tonight, hopefully. But,
yes.
Yeah, our and this motion that I do have, I'll read it again to everybody, but I do believe that it talks about, it's doing it once a week. So maybe
Steve's here to give us a chime in, though.
Yeah, Steve's here if he could chime in.
Yeah. I was just going to say though, so we'll have to make a decision whether we want to have these done for now, at least once a week or twice a week at least. But Steve, please.
Yeah, we could definitely invest in something, and I mean, then we have something. I know it'd be a bit of money, and then we are adding on staff time as well. But if that's kind of what council would rather do, then we can absolutely utilize a truck. We have the trailer to pull it if we need to. It's definitely an option that we could use.
So I have Karen and Ian.
Ian was first, sorry.
Sorry, Ian.
Yeah, I kind of concur with Councillor Carroll. I think that it might be, thank you very much for even Deputy Reed for going out and doing the watering. I'm pretty sure if you go over to Glenview Iron and Metal, you can get one of those tote containers with steel, fill it up and with water in our new pickup truck we're going to buy here very shortly, and we'll be able to run around and water them more frequently if needed, even if it's more than 2 times a week. Now, if you're looking at 18 weeks roughly, you're almost at $4,000 a week, or $4,000 just to water the trees. So I think it's something that we definitely need to look at to do inside, in-house anyway, in my opinion.
So just to let everybody know that this tree project that happened last year was a free giveaway to the public, but because they couldn't allow the public to come because of COVID, the next best thing, they'd already had the trees, so the next best thing was to offer to give them for free to the different municipalities, which is exactly what happened. That's why we got 100. So this is probably not something that's going to happen again next year. So, I'm not sure that right now that any expense of purchasing this type of thing is actually needed, because we've never got into, don't think that the municipalities ever got into planting trees in the past. And I'm not sure that we're going to get into planting trees in the future. If we are, then I'm all in favor of maybe purchasing something. But as I said, I believe this was kind of a one-shot deal. we got our 100 trees. We just needed to deal with it. And so, but anyways, that's where it's at. So Karen, I'll go to you.
So curiosity too, with this tank, do you not need a pump to pump the water out of the tank? And then have the hose attachment in order for it to get the water to where you need to go? You can't just have a tank in the back of a truck and have the water flow out, correct?
Well, you'd have to have a hose on the bottom that would be attached to the bottom of the tank, which would have a tap on it.
But you still have to have a pressure system to push it out. It will not just flow out the way you need it. You do have to have some sort of a water pump in it. At least the ones that I have seen in operation also have pumps on it to get the water out of it.
Yeah, I guess I just thought that that if the tap was at the bottom of the tank, that gravity would do the work.
In some, yeah, but I don't know if in
Yeah.
all.
Well, as I said, I think council should think about this now anyways, because as I said, this may not happen again. So to talk about spending a whole bunch of money on equipment for watering trees, I mean, if we're going to go into the business of planting more trees, then I'm all in favor, but otherwise I'm not sure that it's needed. But anything else on this then? Okay, so we can bring this back for another discussion. There's no problem. But if we want to deal with it tonight, then I do have a motion. I'll read it. And as I said, you'll have to, we will have to decide whether it's going to be once a week for now or twice a week. This motion was moved by Karen Jennings and seconded by Jeff Carroll, that the committee of the whole received the planned watering of 100 trees, and that the following be recommended to council. That council directs staff to proceed with completing a contract with Green Acres Farms for the watering of the 100 trees. So do we want once a week or twice a week? Because this motion says once a week. And I think we can change the motion if we want to. Jeff?
I was gonna say, there's no beginning and end date or anything. So is it just kind of once a week until we say stop? Or is it once a week until the end of certain, or did I miss something? Sorry.
No problem. Joanna?
No, you're right. I didn't put that in, and I apologize. It's an excellent question. I mean, I sort of just now suggested end of September, but I'm not a tree specialist. I know things sort of generally aren't quite as hot by the end of September. I would hope that they would have been well rooted and well watered and would be okay at that point. But again, at the direction of council, we can make it whatever's necessary, whatever you'd like.
What's council's wishes? Ian?
I guess my question is to Stephen, do you feel that you can get something put together, Stephen? Is it feasible?
Something could get put together. I think the problem we run into is the time for our guys. Right now, it'd be a great time to have it done by staff when we have public works students. I think the problem we run into later on in the season, when the guys are busy back into grading operations and things like that, is actually getting the manpower time to go out and allocate our time that should be spent on the roads to watering trees. I guess would be the one thing. It is absolutely, we could, it's not too much. It'd be a pressurized system from, if we put it in the back of a 1/2-ton truck, open the tap and it's pressurized and you water. If that's the way council would like to go, then we can definitely explore that. I don't know lead times or anything, but it's possible.
Yeah, I would think that the biggest problem right now is our guys are busy, are very busy, and they're going to be probably very busy all year. Ian, a follow-up, please.
So Stephen, just to clarify, just what you said there, we're okay as long as the students are here. Is that right? So we're good for June, July, August?
That's the only time I could guarantee that we have staff hours allocated to complete watering operations.
Yeah, personally, I'm okay with that.
With what, Ian?
Well, I think that if Stephen can come up with something and let the students do it for June, July, and August, and if September comes and we have to keep on watering, then we can hire Green Acres to come and do it for the month of September if need be. So September is typically quite a bit cooler and more rain.
So what are you suggesting we do then in the meantime while we're waiting to buy all of this equipment? Because if it doesn't rain in the next day or two, like, the trees have to be watered. So what do you suggest? What do we do in the meantime?
Let Green Acres continue for the next week.
Okay, then I guess we need to redo this.
I don't know if there's consensus for that or if there isn't. So,
well, I think what I'll do is I'll read the motion that's on the table, Ian, and then we can we'll see how this goes here. Before I do, I see Karen's hand.
So, I mean, if we're talking, say, from now till the end of September, once a week, you're looking at roughly 1,800 plus HST. If we're talking about buying a watering tank, buying a pump, and then having staff, are we truly that far cost effective ahead?
No.
And if it's only going to be for this year, why do we have the equipment if we're not going to be utilizing it afterwards, is my question.
That's exactly what I was trying to point out. So if we did it once a week for June, July, and August, that's $1,200, right? If we did it once a week, right? Would that be right?
Well, it's $1,800 from now, meaning the first week of June until the last week of September.
September, yeah, 1,800. So yeah.
That's fine. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, sort of draw it out, but sorry, Reef.
No problem.
Yeah, sorry to draw it out, but I guess, I mean, I just want to make sure if there's an opportunity to do something that, and if we have another piece of equipment that's useful to us down the road.
Exactly.
But if it's not down the road, then I mean, like if it's not something that, like we're going to need next year or anything else, I mean, it's not necessarily worth going down the pain for that. So, okay.
Okay, then, I'm going to read this, but this motion I'm going to read will say once per week. And then if you want to make a change, you'll have to say so. Let's see, I think I better read this again so everybody's clear. It was moved by Karen Jennings, seconded by Jeff Carroll, that the committee of the whole received this planned watering of the 100 trees report, and that the following be recommended to council, that council direct staff to proceed with the completing a contract with Green Acres Farms for the watering of 100 trees. This one says once a week, but does anybody want me to change this from once to twice, or leave it at once and vote on it? Jeff?
I'm good for once a week, but I mean, I would leave it a little bit in the hands of the staff. Obviously, if we go 3 weeks without rain, we might need to give it another splash. But also the same token, if it goes the other way and we get a week of rain, we don't necessarily need them watered when it's raining out. So
I think our staff should be able to give some direction to the contractor to
as needed is
be aware of that. So, Joanna, did you have something else?
I just thought we could maybe change it to the council direct staff proceed with completing a contract with Green Acres Farms for the watering of 100 trees on an as-needed basis until the end of September.
There you go.
Well, no, because
All
I mean,
right.
I don't think it's right to pay $4,000 for it versus buying the tank and everything else that would be less. Like if you're talking twice a week, I'm now at $3,600. I think there's a bit of a difference here. So I guess, how about I throw a snowball here? Do we own equipment now within the municipality that could do it?
Steve, I'm going to defer that to you. I don't believe that we do, but
How about fire? Does the fire department have a creek truck or something that can water it as well? I don't know. I'm a finance person. I'm not one of these equipment people, but
The biggest thing, Karen, as far as I'm concerned right now, even if we had the equipment, we don't have the manpower.
But we have students until the end of August.
Yeah, which may be already, who might be already swamped, I don't know. But you're right. Okay, so
Trees that were free costing us $4,000 now. Look.
So can we
Jeff?
just put, sorry, yeah, can we just put a, like, as an as-needed basis with a budget of
$2,000.
Sorry?
$2,000.
Yeah, like $2,000 with a budget of, so you have a, you know, like you're kind of gauging it a little bit, so don't spend more than $2,000 in the watering of the trees, which is about once a week. Does that sort of seem a little bit more?
Yeah.
Cost of, what, sorry, on an off note there, what part of the budget is this coming out of?
We've got to find it.
Yeah, Andrew will have to find a place for it.
Okay.
I originally was thinking as part of the custodial contract, but there's nothing in there that mentions the
No.
anything like that. So I'm not sure. It'll have to be something that Andrew figures out.
Like, is it going under public works? Is it going under recreation? Is it going under?
Maybe it's a split cost between several departments.
No, we'll have to figure it out.
Public Works.
Sorry, Steve. I'd be interested to listen to Andrew's obviously recommendation though, just on that, but like maybe just to speed this along. So can we come to a consensus of $2,000 as don't spend more than that with Green Acres?
So I'm going to go ahead and call this vote.
Bill, we can't hear you.
Bill glitch on, you frozen us.
No, I was just letting Jeff finish talking there. So then, do we have we read the motion already, and that was on an as needed basis with a upshot limit of $2,000. That's what this motion is for.
Okay.
So I'm going to call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. And just to let everybody know that thanks to all the heads that were put together, deciding where the trees were going to go, they're in some pretty nice spots, I would say. And there's some, hopefully, if they all grow, we'll have some pretty nice maple trees all along the border between the school and the 22 acres along the border. And they're maple trees. And as somebody pointed out to me today already, that the leaves were already coming out on these. There were no leaves on these trees. There were like maybe 2 to 3 feet to 4 feet high. So, but now the leaves are starting to come out. And then the others, there's a really nice buffer. Well, hopefully, I'm thinking positively here. Although the cedar and evergreen trees were very small that we put in at the office, they are going to make a very nice buffer between our next door neighbor and us, which eventually, when the trees get big enough, will obviously be a good buffer to keep garbage from flying around and stuff onto our neighbors. And then, as it was pointed out, we've had problems down at Rosedale Hall, and now hopefully these trees, when they grow, that's going to help to alleviate the problems, because these trees are going to be also acting as a buffer between the neighbor that was having problems with people on the playscape. And then also we offered 4 nice trees to the airport. So they were all in pretty opportune places, I think, but this all happened like really quickly. So it had to be dealt with right away. So anyways, thank you for all of that. And Claus, you're back with us now.
Yeah, thank you.
And 1 sec, please. I just need to turn on the light. Sorry about that. So I have, I think that was the last report. Yes, that was the last report. And we're going to move on then. There was no reports of committees, petitions, motions, notice of motions, and no unfinished business and other business. And before we adjourn, maybe Joanna and Christy, could you tell us if you have any questions from the public?
Yeah, just let me check here.
I have no questions from the public.
And I don't either.
Okay. Then I have a motion. It was moved by Ian Straight, second by Claus Vandermeer, that the committee of the whole meeting do now adjourn at 8:40 p.m. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. And does anybody need like 2 minutes, because we're going to be reconvening? Yes, 2 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Pardon
So
the
we'll
pun.
take up to 3 minutes,
need
and
to
then we'll reconvene. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
I need to go down and shut the water off. My truck is filling up. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Has it been 3 minutes?
It's probably close.
I think so, yeah.
Can you hear me now, Joanna?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay, we'll wait for Ian and Klaus, I guess. Are we still live streamed, Joanna?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was hoping
I
you're gonna
think
come back
that-
with a different background straight.
Yeah, I think we'll go ahead because I think Klaus said he was gonna go turn water off, so he may be going out to his business or something. So I think we should go ahead and get started here. I do have a motion. It was moved by Ian Straight and seconded by Klaus Vandermeer that the council reconvene at 8:46. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. 8:46. I also have a motion here. It was moved by Klaus Vandermeer and seconded by Jeff Carroll that the council moves into closed session as per S 239 of the Municipal Act S0/2001 C25 in order to address 3 items: a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Next, personal matters about an identifiable individual. I got there's a repeat there. Sorry, there's 2 there, the same. And then more specifically, position regarding an agreement, performance evaluation, acting clerk administrator. Any comments, questions? All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you.